Welcome back to Diplomatic Channel. A major summit is held in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, with a focus on tackling the problem of migration on the continent. Illegal migration to Europe has been a source of major worry for European countries who are stretching resources to ensure that they do their due diligence. Over time, these countries are showing there is only so much they can take.
Delegates and officials launched a 10-year project called Preventing and Responding to Illegal Migration in Egypt, PRIME, which will be executed by the International Organization for Migration and will look at developing several employment projects in towns and cities. Head of Egypt's National Coordinating Committee on Combating and Preventing Illegal Migration, Naila Gabrer, announced the launch of the program.
I am happy to announce the program PRIME, which means Preventing and Responding to Illegal Migration in Egypt. This is with the support of the United Kingdom through £2 million under the execution of the International Organization Migration.
According to the IOM, the project will also focus on community outreach activities to inform of the risk of irregular migration and alternatives. And the British government says creating proper methods for gathering data on migrants will be key.
Data gathering, making sure that policy is evidence-based, that the analysis that underpins our activity is rigorous, to make sure that we can do the awareness raising, we can do the preventing, the prosecuting, and the protecting of people. But this is one brick in the wall, if you like, of a much bigger British effort in Egypt and around the world to play our role as a global leader and as global citizens in tackling this problem, which doesn't just exist in any one place, but it is a global problem. And so it's important that we deal with both the symptoms and the root causes of illegal migration and of people smuggling.
Egypt passed legislation at the end of last year to crack down on people traffickers linked to a major surge in the numbers of migrants departing from the country's Mediterranean coast on often disastrous sea journeys to Europe. A boat carrying about 450 people capsized off Egypt's coast last September. About 202 bodies were subsequently recovered from the sea and 169 people rescued. Some 320 migrants and refugees drowned off the Greek island of Crete in June, and survivors said their boat had set sail from Egypt. After Turkey cut a deal with the European Union to stop the flow of migrants from its territory to the continent, increasing numbers sought to cross to Italy from the North African coast this summer, especially from Libya, where people traffickers operate with relative impunity. But as more and more migrant boats now set off from Egypt, an international effort needs to take place to deter migrants from making the perilous sea crossings.
Kenya's Milimani court has ruled that the world's largest refugee camp in Dadaab will remain open. Good news. But according to the court, it will be unconstitutional for the government to shut the camp, which has become home to thousands of refugees, some even living there all of their lives. But will keeping the camp open be the best thing for now for Kenya?
The government's decision to complain of in this petition violates the principle of non-refoulement and is therefore a breach of international law, international conventions, and the country's obligations under the various conventions to which it is a signatory, and above all, our constitution.
The semi-arid town in Garissa County in Kenya happens to currently host more than 300,000 refugees, and they are spread over 5 camps for better coordination. Run by the UN High Commission for Refugees, its operations are financed by foreign donors, though there is an agreement by the Kenyan Somali government to work with the agency to repatriate the refugees. It's easy to see why the Kenyan government is eager to close the camp. It has been open since 1992, beginning first as sanctuary for those escaping civil conflict in Somalia. The number has grown since then and gone up as high as over 400,000 at some point, dependent on the security situation in Somalia. But the refugees are not being protected by the Kenyan government, and sometimes Even refugees have been affected by the activities of the Al-Shabaab militant groups.
Being a government whose cardinal responsibility is first to Kenyans, we feel that this decision should be revealed, and that is why we are appealing. All of us remember the Garissa attack. It was planned and launched from Dadaab, and actually several other attacks and attempted attacks, including on a church in Garissa, were also mooted in this place.
And while all refugees at the camp are at risk of violence, the UNHCR and CARE, a humanitarian organization providing disaster relief and fighting poverty around the world, have admitted women and children are being particularly vulnerable. And after more than 20 years of hosting the camp, Kenya says it's time to have it shut, citing Somalia is more stable now than it was back then when the camp first opened. The move has been condemned by rights groups, which say Somalia is still driven by clan divisions and regional rivalries, and is only slowly moving towards becoming a functioning federal state. The situation at the camp has been appalling over the years, with fears of an epidemic outbreak rife at intervals. One local official has said people have no toilets, no shelter, no water, no education and no medicine. Factors that now show even stretched resources are barely enough to cover basic needs. However, the UN says the Dadaab's closure will have to be determined by the refugees themselves, and only a fraction of the total number of people have indicated they want to return home, but returns have been suspended.
We are ready to go back to our country, but it's not the time being, today or tomorrow, because of the challenges and the reasons why we came fled from Somalia. Still, some of the challenges are still there.
Return has to be sustainable, and it can only be, one, if there is security, and that's an important responsibility of Somalia and of the international community, and two, if there is education, health, livelihoods, structures.
If the camp is closed, its impact will be huge on Kenya, affecting first the economy. There are more than 5,000 businesses run within or near the camp, including taxi companies, hotels, restaurants and small shops, whose yearly turnover is estimated to be as much as $25 million, and direct and indirect benefits of the camp could well amount to $14 million a year, according to a study commissioned by the Kenya government, the Norwegian embassy, and the Danish embassy. Meanwhile, over 100,000 people live within 50 kilometers of the camp, on which they rely for schooling and free or cheaper food supplies. This would seriously impact the lives of Kenyan people. Also, Kenya could lose as much as the 1 billion foreign currency brought into the country by aid agencies, who buy most of their supplies from local producers in Nairobi or Mombasa. Finally, Human Rights Watch says the country should be worried about the humanitarian consequences of forcing 600,000 people back to a war-torn country from which they had fled.
That's our show this week. Thanks for watching. As usual, I'd like to hear what you think. Send your thoughts to @diplomaticchan or @Amarachi_Ubani. I'd love to see you again next time. Do take care.